Hello, everybody. It's Paul Valencia. It's Tony Liberatore. It's Cale Piland. Did I do that right? I do it again every year, every year.
You doubt yourself. Stop doubting yourself, Paul. You haven't done it wrong once.
I know.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, but it's still
and
fun.
It's your name, so if anybody be aware of it, it'd be you.
Yes, because I still want to say Torre. Yeah,
Liberatore. Hey, paisano.
Yeah, exactly.
You're good.
Anyway, hey, it's the Clark County Today Sports Podcast. It's the first episode of 2024, right? Is that right? Dun, dun, dun. So today we have a little bit of breaking news here we'll get to in just a second. We'll talk about how ADs and school districts determine what to do on weather events. And might talk a little bit of high school basketball, but we still got another month of regular season, and then we'll really get into basketball season and basketball next episode, I'm sure. We've got to talk football talk. Congrats to Jack Hathaway for 3 league championships at Camas, and he's leaving Camas. He's not leaving Camas, but he's leaving as the head coach. And then we'll probably talk pro sports and college sports, which are kind of the same thing now, Seahawks and Huskies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where can you make more money? It depends on how good a player you are, right?
You can only have 53 guys on the Seahawks roster. There's more players than the Huskies, so they might make more money. I don't know, but we'll figure that out. And then, if you guys don't mind, indulge me, we're going to be talking a little bit about Die Hard because one of our listeners asked us to go into a Die Hard conversation. Not just the Christmas movie or not. There's something else. But
I didn't know. Did I see that on the agenda?
Yeah,
oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I missed that one.
It's more than just the Christmas movie argument because that's kind of old. But we'll get to that.
There's no argument as far as I'm concerned when we get to that.
Okay, sweet.
What you're talking about there.
So, hey, breaking news. We are recording this on Thursday. What is it? January 11th. So this will post probably on the 12th. But Cale, you are the greatest district-wide athletic director at Evergreen Schools.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess
and I'm also the only one. Yes,
I guess you're the worst one. But hey,
it's like I tell my you're my favorite youngest niece. I tell my niece all the time.
Yeah, and I am the best and worst sports writer at Clark County Today. So anyway, but Cale, what happened with the Clark County Wrestling Tournament?
It's going to be shut down this year. All events Friday night and Saturday have been shut down due to what looks like the very likelihood that we will have some inclement weather that'll be kind of nasty.
Wow, snowpocalypse.
Yes. I got to admit, I'm a little worried about pre-canceling things before something happens just because the history of this county with weather forecasts has been so bad.
Yeah, and part of that, though, is so I know our district, and Tony, I think your district as well, has already announced that there'll be an early release tomorrow.
Right.
And so once you do that, there's a snowball effect, right?
He said snowball effect. I knew it was coming. I was like, please say snowball effect. He did it. He did it. And the thing is, there'll be no snowballs tomorrow.
See, I was thinking domino.
Dang it. Now, what, and Tony and I were talking about this before we went on air, it's guaranteed that we won't get any snow now because whenever you make a decision, it seems like it's. But the fact of the matter is, you don't want to be caught in a quagmire of sorts, right? Because once you get people there, you got to get them out of there, and it's not just the teams that we're transporting. You got to think about the community and whatnot. To err on the side of caution, I know our district and Tony's district, and I believe Battleground and Camas have also elected to cancel Friday and Saturday events.
Right, and let's face it. I mean, I think it was a year or so ago, some school bus in Portland was stuck on the freeway for like 10, 12 hours.
Those are the nightmare scenarios.
Yeah, you don't want to be on that end.
I'm sorry, you got to house 700 people at Heritage High School overnight.
You're right.
That's right.
And then the power goes out. And what are you going to do?
Exactly.
So Kel's running pizzas over to him.
So I get that, and in this case, it's not even a sports administration decision. This was a school district administration, and it's kind of funny because as you get closer to the forecast, and again, we're recording this Thursday late afternoon, early evening, and right now it looks like there's not going to be any snow on Friday. It's just going to get cold. But I guess people are afraid of what if the snow arrives early and all that stuff. But I mean, early release. I mean, that's a weird one for me because there might not be a drop of snow.
No, and a couple of teachers when I was leaving campus today, a couple of teachers said, "When we get out tomorrow, will there be snow?" And I said, no, it'll be 50 and rainy.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Do you remember, this was, I think, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I know I was at Fort. So we had that, it just started dumping like at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And it never stopped.
It never stopped. And we have teachers.
And we waited it out.
And we waited it okay,
out.
try to get the buses. But we had teachers that live in Portland or North Clark County, and they were stuck.
Yeah.
Right.
And so just part of, being, and Paul, I also, as a parent, I get what you're saying. And like, kids are supposed to be in school and it's drizzly.
Yeah.
But
the thing to keep in mind with, and why I think all the districts announced the early release for tomorrow is to put that in motion. It's not just as simple as like, okay, send the buses out and get everybody home. I mean, because you have to reverse.
Yes,
because it's a different time. You don't have enough buses to send them to every school to get every level of school released at the same time. So there is a time frame within that,
right.
and as a parent, it helps you plan. If the sooner you know, if you're going to make that call, the better. I mean, it could be really difficult at the last minute. You're making that call, and but I'm at work, and I got my elementary school kid who's going to get dropped off at home, and nobody's there. I mean, that's some of the problems that we're trying to avoid.
See, Tony and Cale do a great job of defending the people who pay their salaries. I think that's pretty awesome.
I think though, you go back to the Clark County tournament. That's not going to be made up.
Right. That's
right?
okay.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the sports part of it. That's a bummer.
And that's the bummer part, because that is a huge deal, and it's one of the it's a great athletic tradition in Clark County.
Yes.
This is what I was planning to do. I knew the storm was coming, and no one knew if it's coming Friday or Saturday, and now it looks like the snow part that'll make the roads really bad is probably going to be late Friday night or Saturday. So I was hoping there would still be like a first day of competition. I was going to go out Friday evening and talk to some wrestlers and just, what does this mean to you? Even if there is no finals on Saturday.
Sure.
And, do a little feature. So that's not going to happen. Oh, well. But I got to tell you that Clark County Wrestling is so neat, and because it used to be everybody from Clark County showed up for the boys. Now for the girls, they extended the invitation to
Callus.
The whole region, Callus, and that makes sense. You got to get the numbers up for the girls brackets, but it's so special because it's an individual sport. I know they always say it's a team sport, but you know what I mean. There's individual battles, one-on-one, and it doesn't matter if you're from La Center or Union. If you're 185 pounds, you face each other and you go for it. And I always loved it. There's always one or two small school champions, and they just feel great.
Right.
It's a special event. And I wanted to ask you guys, why can't we do that for all the quote, individual events? I mean, we have some big events, but they're not all Clark County.
So let me just make sure I understand your template. Do you mean anywhere from 1A to 4A in individual sports going against each other?
Yeah, in one event for a Clark County Invitational for track.
Individual.
A Clark County Invitational for bowling.
Golf.
Why?
Tennis.
Anything that to me, I define team sport as anything that the WIA gives an an individual sport is anything that has an individual award as well as a team.
Right.
Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I presume you'll talk about this. When you initially say that, I think the easiest one to do, just because of venue, that's the tough one.
Right.
Would be, unless you want to do it over a week, the easy one would be golf.
Theoretically, yes.
I mean, there's enough local courses to where you could do, what do we have including private schools, 18 high schools, 20?
Oh boy, yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's an 18. Yeah.
So, but you could
and
probably,
not everyone has a golf team. Yeah,
right? That's true. But
yeah,
like if you're trying to do a tennis tournament.
Well, that would be problematic. Yeah,
correct.
I mean, whether you did it at Green Meadows or VTC,
you need two different venues, I think.
And I mean, you could do some of it. I mean, depending on, especially if you did it in the fall and you did it early in the fall for the boys. I mean, you could do it outside. I mean, you could do it at high school venues, right? But yeah, I mean, I think there's some merit to that because, the whole reason you have classifications is because of depth. Right. So the number of students you're choosing from to build a basketball team or a football team, the larger your enrollment is, the more depth you have to choose from that. But if you, absolutely right. Clark County, I mean, if I'm a 185 pounder and I'm the best wrestler in the county, I can win. It doesn't matter that I'm at a small school. It doesn't mean that I'm a small school wrestler at that point in time. I'm just a wrestler.
That's where my boundary is.
Fastest runner might be a Class 1A runner.
Absolutely.
And it'd be just really cool to do that. And I know the Twilight at Columbia River used to have a lot of teams, but not every team.
Right. And then more and more schools, especially in the Portland area, started doing around that same time a lot of invites and so
it'd just be kind of cool. Just something to throw out there. I know, but even Clark County Wrestling, I don't know if it's still true, but for a few years, Camas wasn't going. And their coach said, well, we didn't want to give our rivals, Skyview and Union and Battleground, another look at us before district. And
there's some merit to that, but
I
know if you talk to John Godino at Union, he's like, no, we're going every year. I mean, they take a lot of pride in that. I know, in winning Clark County.
Right, they do, and they win it usually. A lot of years they win it. So
we're actually kind of off the cuff at our last AD meeting talked about looking at scheduling and whatnot. That why don't we look at doing something similar? And you'd have to break it up into different brackets for basketball. Over winter break. I know Fort runs their tournament, but I think if you could if we could come up with a way to do it where you were crowning a Clark County champion, because the fact of the matter is a lot of those tournaments, nobody's there. Nobody goes to watch them, right? I mean, it's parents and grandparents and whatnot. So there's nobody in the stands. But if you had something of that merit, and the other piece that made me think about that, because as I'm looking at these scores, I'm going. And I believe in a Phoenix tournament, Kelso actually played Ridgefield,
right?
And I'm going, well, so
they went to Arizona
and played each other. And Union girls went down and played Liberty of Issaquah and Shorewood or Shorecrest. So two teams from Washington were in their bracket or their pool. So I mean, I'm just looking at that. If you could put it together here, where we're talking fun, if you could make some money for districts, and it became a big deal, it would be cool, but I mean, I don't. That's not even on the table. It's just an idea.
Yeah,
I like the local idea, or just a county tournament, or even if it was, a 3A, 4A, hoop or whatever. That I like that stuff, but I mean, the teams now they raise. So much money for a year
to go down and do these things.
In between Christmas and New Year's, let's go to Phoenix and play around.
Go to San Diego, go somewhere warm.
And I get it.
Yeah.
So oops, sorry. Turned on my phone and something was actually on the media. So hopefully you didn't hear that. I think it was just Bill Belichick something. But I was trying to find.
Who? He doesn't coach anymore.
He doesn't coach anymore. Well, neither does Pete Carroll. But we'll see. But anyway, I was looking up for something else. But I was just going to go. Speaking of basketball, we have. I think I saw Camas and Union girls are tied in the latest AP poll. And
I saw that.
Did you see that? I think they tied for fourth. I think it was. And I got to tell you, I do think that Union's record. What are they? 12-1 now, something like that. I think that warrants a top 10 ranking in state
100%
for Class 4A. But right now. After last year and this year, they're not on the same page as Camas. And Camas, though, has 6 losses, but that's because they played 5 or 6 of the best teams in the country.
Right.
In these losses.
Paul, I don't want to besmirch your colleagues, but
here comes the media.
The journalism AP voters. Is that what you're getting?
But I'm venturing a guess that there's some AP voters out there who just get their ballot and kind of willy nilly fill that thing out.
They look at the records
and they don't really take a look at who people have played and because anybody that. Union's going to play Camas again, and who knows what happens with that. Right. But anybody who saw the first game, those two teams should not be ranked together.
Right
at this
right
juncture.
Now, Camas is better, a lot better.
Yeah,
and then and the last year, in fact. Union played one game against Camas really close in the first half. It was a great effort by Union. Camas pulled away. And then I think in the first game that they played, I think Union had a great third quarter and made it a game again. So they actually played closer last year. Yep. But so anyway, no, I'm not ripping on Union. They're 12-1. But really, until they play a much closer game against Camas the next time, they're not at Camus's level yet.
Well, and I think you could make the argument, really, when you look at 4A girls basketball, there might be one team and everybody else right now.
Right.
As you know, I didn't even look at who the other teams were.
There's some good. There's some good teams, but again,
yeah.
And then I asked Scott Thompson before the Union game, did you take a little too much, going after that schedule? Because I don't care how good you are, if you keep losing, it's got to get into your psyche. And then he said that, well, we'll find out tonight against Union if that's true. And then they just, I think they had a 15 or 16-0 run in the first quarter, and the game was over.
Their psyche seemed fine.
Yes, their psyche did.
There you go.
Fine. So, but it's a also on the records it says they're 10-6, but they have 5 more games scheduled. So I think they're 9-6.
Well, you can
do 21. With one of these tournaments. Okay.
Well, there's a foundation game that you can play.
But did they have that? I just don't remember.
I think they did.
Okay,
I think
so
they did.
that's where I'm missing.
Wait, are we doing a self-report right now?
Yeah. Sorry, Scott.
Sorry, Scott.
Well, they haven't played the games yet if they didn't get the
True.
Okay. No, but whatever. So anyway, we got so and then it's odd to see 4A basketball. There's no one from the GSHL. I don't think in boys basketball this year, and that's Camas had a great run last year. They have a lot of young talent. They're back.
Yeah,
but they also had some really what I call the glue guys who were seniors. There were a couple of seniors on that team that were really special team guys. Yeah, not special teams like football, but special players who just team. And I'm not saying that they don't have that now, but when you lose that, it can take a few months the next season to get going. So I still anticipate Camas being good, and possibly even making it back to state. No matter what the record is right now.
Yeah.
It could happen, and so, but yeah, it'll be fun. And then the 2A JCHL has been a lot of fun. Tony, have you been following that a lot?
Just a little bit, because
boys and girls.
Yeah, at least, yeah. I'm just trying to think of Fort the last couple of weeks. We lost by 30 and won by 30 league game. So it's similar to like the football season was just kind of like, hey, this team A beat team B, and then.
That did happen a lot in the 2A GSHL. I love the athletic.
But then team A beats team C, who ends up beating team B.
Right.
There's a lot of parity.
A lot of parity in the 2A GSHL athletics, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And
it makes it fun.
It makes a lot of fun. So we'll be following basketball a little bit more. By the next time we get together, I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more basketball. What do we got here? We got football coach talk. So Jack Hathaway, coach at Camas for 3 years, and it is hard to replace, a legend, as they say. And I mean, at the high school football ranks, especially in Southwest Washington. Sorry, Cale, but nobody won one more than you.
Nobody named a burger after me at McKenzie Stadium. So there was the Eagle or the Eagle Dog.
The Eagle Dog.
So
John Eagle,
really?
Oh yeah.
So, John Eagle is kind of legendary at Camas. I don't mind saying that, and you don't mind.
Well deserved.
That he's well deserved. Won 2 state titles and had a couple of other close ones, and just an incredible run for Camas football. But then Jack Hathaway took over, and you know what? The run continued of excellence. That's 3 more league titles for Jack Hathaway, and he decided to step away from head coaching. He still is going to work with the team, and I think he's going to be an assistant coach next year, depending on whoever the head coach is, of course. But so I've always felt Jack Hathaway just a class guy, class act. And he did a great job winning three league titles in a league that included Skyview, right at their heels.
Skyview team.
Good Skyview teams.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's one of the best leagues in the state. I mean, one of the smallest leagues in the state, but still quality football. It's very, very high.
So I just want to say congratulations, Jack, on doing that. I mean, you won 3 league titles following the legend of John Eagle, and that could not have been easy to be the head coach right after John Eagle left. It's kind of like whoever took over for you. I can't remember, Cale. I'm just messing. I know who took over for you. I was going
to say, wait a minute.
He might be listening too, and I bet you he's going to text you as soon as he tunes into the pod. What the heck are you talking about?
That's why I'm not naming names. Oh, man, that's fun. Okay, so, all right. Now, and then we got other coaching news. I understand the Washington Huskies have a new... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, everybody.
Stop.
Just kidding. we're recording this on Thursday, and all we're hearing is rumors only. But anyway,
but there's some smoke to these.
There's quite a bit of smoke there.
Yeah, but for real news, in this state, the Seahawks, your Seahawks, Cale, Seahawks have parted ways as mutually agreed, which by the way, I hate mutually agreed when 2 days before Pete Carroll told the world,
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm back. I love this stuff. I'm the happiest guy in the world.
Yep.
So your thoughts as a Seahawks fan and seeing your most successful coach in team history walk away or be shown the door.
Yeah. I mean, kind of torn. I mean, obviously, yes, Pete is the greatest coach in Seahawks history, and really, I mean, the greatest run of success in Seattle Seahawks history is really due to him. I mean, obviously, he had great players, but he was not only the head coach, but he was the president of football operations. So he superseded the general manager, which is kind of an odd relationship, but the buck stopped with him, and he came into just an atrocious situation. I mean, they were real bad. The Jim Mora year, I believe they were 4-12.
Yeah.
And so that was bad. So what he was able to do in Seattle was it's never been done before. And so I think any Seahawks fan would tip their cap to him. The flip side of that is, and he even said it in his press conference yesterday, they've lost their edge. The great Seahawks teams were just dominant on defense, especially run defense. I mean, everybody talks about the Legion of Boom and whatnot, but you couldn't run against the Seahawks. And last year, that was a huge problem, and it was supposedly addressed this year, and they were actually worse against the run, especially towards the end of the season. I mean, some of those, the last couple of games, I mean, the Pittsburgh game was I don't know if they could have stopped a good high school team. At least that's what it felt like when you're watching the games. It's just like, we can't stop. They can do whatever they want to. In fact, it was foolish when people tried to throw the ball. What are you doing? You can get 5, 6, 7 yards a pop. And so he admitted that. I think for him and the way he operates and his, always compete mantra, he was already when he was fired up about, like, there's talent there, and I think he had ideas of ways he wanted to attack that in the offseason. But there were just some things you saw on the field, just from an effort standpoint, from time to time, that it hadn't been that was not a trademark of his teams, and so it leads you to believe, and none of us know because we're not in the meeting rooms, we don't know what guys are really saying or what they're really thinking, and certainly no one's going to come out and say that they don't want to play for Pete Carroll, right? But some of the stuff you saw on the field just makes you wonder if, had it run its course, were people, was his message not being received the way that it normally had been received? You can only replace the defensive coordinator so many times, and I won't even get into what's going on offense, but from that standpoint, that the calling card of Pete Carroll football teams in Seattle the last couple of years it hasn't been a reality.
Got it. And was it 14 seasons?
Yeah, 14 seasons.
And for a rah guy, that's a long time. So he did keep it going for a long time.
No, and I don't think his energy has dropped. I mean, you've watched him, holy cow.
But a lot of times we talk about, emotional coaches versus the X's and O's and the structure coach and sometimes the rah, Jim Harbaugh, or maybe his act runs, what do they call it? It just gets old.
Yeah,
it gets
stale.
Old
quick.
Yeah. It's happened to some great coaches. And it didn't get old for him until maybe this year, but it didn't get old for the team, I should say.
I mean, there were some guys, when you look at kind of the tail end of that Super Bowl run, like Michael Bennett came out and said some stuff. So I think with some of those guys, when you were around it for a while, I think they're kind of like, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But
they're just mad that he didn't hand the ball off.
When you look at, I mean, his 7 wins is as bad as it gets. Right. And so that's pretty amazing in the NFL, especially today's NFL.
Was it 10 playoff years and 14 seasons?
Something like that. Yeah.
And it's just funny. And I laughed all season at Pittsburgh fans mad at Mike Tomlin.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay. Everyone knows I love the Raiders. I won't say more than my family because that's, but it's close.
1A and 1B.
It's close. And they know this. I love you, Jenny. Love you, Luna. But they go to the games with me. They know. So, but anyway, they love the team too, probably more than me some days. But I even I put this out on Twitter. I'd sacrifice a limb to have a coach like Mike Tomlin to go 17 seasons without a losing record. I mean, people in Pittsburgh wanted him gone this year.
No, we got an opening in Seattle, Mike. If you want to come out west, come out west.
Good. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I would just do anything for a coach like, and then to have a Pete Carroll go. If the Raiders had a coach for 14 years and made the playoffs 10 times and won one Super Bowl, I'd be ecstatic. Yep.
Right.
So I salute Pete Carroll, even though I'm not really a Seahawks guy. But
I did hear a possible scenario today that somebody threw out, and it'll make my stomach churn if it comes true. And if Dallas loses this weekend,
I know where you're going. I heard this.
That Pete Carroll could be a perfect fit for Jerry Jones in Dallas and be able to handle Dak. And I mean, because Pete does a great job with the media. I mean, if you're the Dallas Cowboys head coach, you got to be great with the media and at a different level than anybody else in the NFL. But that would just make my stomach churn if he went to Dallas. No, Pete,
this morning, do it. The quote unquote pundits were saying he's going to be coaching again.
Wow. People will want him. There's no question.
For sure.
No question.
He's looking.
Marv Levy did it even older than him, and Pete looks in great shape.
Yeah, so that's true. I forget about Marvelous Marv.
If he wants to do it, he can do it. So.
Well, what about you? I mean, what's going to happen with your Raiders?
So speaking of emotions and stuff, so I was in the stadium Sunday, and it was so fun. It's always fun to beat the Broncos, and that's eight in a row, Tony.
Yes,
8 in a row. The Broncos have
brother-in-law's
never.
a Bronco fan, so even better.
The Broncos have never beat the Las Vegas Raiders.
Really?
Yep.
That is fantastic.
Since the Raiders moved to Las Vegas, it's perfect. They're perfect, and it's great. We love the Broncos. Without them, we would have only won 6 games this year. Last year, we would have only won 4 games. So we love the Broncos.
Well, but anyway, when Russell Wilson's your quarterback next year, though, will you beat the Broncos?
Ouch.
yes, we will if that happens. But anyway, by the way, Russell Wilson played better this year. He did not play a lot better.
Yeah,
and he's going to be on a restructured contract because there's no one's going to pick up that contract. No one's going to trade for him, and no one's going to pick him up on waivers. So Russell Wilson on a revenge tour type of prove it season is intriguing, by the way. So I've already bought into that possibility, Cale. So you can mock me right now, but I'm already there as a possibility.
I'm not mocking you now, but if he goes there, I will mock you all next year.
Okay, gotcha. I'm just saying a prove it year for Russell Wilson. I like the idea. Anyway, but back to Antonio Pierce. It was so fun. And we're just chanting his name, his AP as he walks off the field, and it was just it felt like almost like a playoff moment for him at least, and for the fans just love him, and we love him because he's a Raider. He's got that Raider attitude. But I will say this: I'm wondering if he too is one of those. Is it an emotion guy? He's been all emotion. He's been all about that, and well, X's and O's wise, he's not great, and he's not perfect at it, but he shouldn't be. He was a linebackers coach,
right?
2 months ago.
And that's why you have good coordinators.
He was in college 2 months ago.
So you can get away with that.
You can. So as the head coach, if he is that guy and he can do that in the locker room and he can continue that, sustain it, and he gets some help with coordinators, I'm all for it. Oh, absolutely. I want AP as the coach. I mean, what Raider fan wouldn't want a guy who loves being a Raider? So I am for that. But I'm also open-minded to the possibility of like a Jim Harbaugh. But speaking of Jim Harbaugh, I was going to throw back Harbaugh now to you because remember, Harbaugh wasn't even thinking of Seattle because there was no opening in Seattle. But the last time you guys got a college coach in a scandal, at a program riddled in scandal, and a coach who had to run away from that program, it worked out pretty well.
So first of all, Jim Harbaugh can flat out coach. So I would love it if Jim Harbaugh came to Seattle because I think that would benefit the team. And I think here's a reason why I think it could happen. I think Jim Harbaugh would love to try to stick it to the Niners because of how that ended. And if he could come to the NFC West and get over on the Niners, he would love that. The reason I'm not sure that it would happen is because now John Schneider, who had been kind of the number 2 as the GM, he's the number 1 guy. And if Schneider and Harbaugh could get along and do it collectively, then yes. but I don't know that works for Harbaugh, right? I think Harbaugh wants to have the final say, but it would create a very odd juxtaposition because I don't know if you know, but Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh aren't like they're not sending Christmas cards to each other.
Exactly.
So that would be a little odd.
I was just having fun with the whole college football. Because Harbaugh's got to run out of there before the sanctions hit, right?
Yeah. I would imagine yes.
So that's
well,
what
they
Pete
have
did.
to vacate the championship.
Well,
so.
no, they're not going to vacate the championship. I mean, if they let them play all year, why would they do that? I mean, they're not cheating. They weren't cheating anymore after.
Well, if they do it, it'll be 5 years from now when they finally get done with their investigation.
It's like what they did with their hoop team,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So no, I was rooting for the Huskies. I don't care as much about college football nearly as I do the NFL, but I was rooting for the Huskies, and not just because they're home team. It's more because of Duck fans hate the Huskies, so that means I like the Huskies.
By proxy, you're a Husky fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But man, that game was just all Michigan. It was whatever. But what a special for Husky fans though, the semifinal game.
It was a great game.
It was a great game, and then Penix was just so amazing, and he seems like a class guy. So the joke in Raider Nation was we didn't want him to be awesome in the championship game.
So you could get him
because there's a possibility now he could drop to 13th of the draft or whatever. But who knows? But no, it was
combine will be interesting for him based on his previous injuries.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
and
so we'll see.
he was beat up a lot of the year too,
big time.
Right. So. All right, what do we got next? Next here, we wanted to talk. Well, we did the Seahawks and Pete, of course, yeah. But okay, not timely, but we did have. It was funny. I tweeted out something about Die Hard. It just blew me away that I didn't realize who was actually playing in the football game. There's a scene in Die Hard where the
security guard,
the bad guy security guard is watching a football game. Oh darn it! I've got $50 on those guys.
Yeah.
And that movie came out in what? I think 88.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm 17. You guys are
17,
16.
I was 6.
Yeah, you shut up. He was not 6.
I was 14.
Yeah. But I remember in the theaters going, that's a day game and it's nighttime. And I was thinking, what game is that? And I wasn't even thinking about Christmas Eve. And then so someone had posted, why was Notre Dame playing USC on a Christmas Eve?
Right.
And that's what I tweeted that out and how crazy that was because I've always, and then someone said, we need to talk about this on the podcast. So it drives me nuts when movies get sports wrong. Yeah. And it's like, why? Yeah. If it was Christmas Eve, they got to find something else that would have been on it. It had to have been something else. Now they probably didn't have licensing to show an NFL game because there might have been a Christmas Eve game in the NFL game or whatever. But
it was plausible.
It was just funny that they did it. They had a day game, so the only day game that's live that anyone cares about. Because if you're betting back in 1988, there's no internet to look up at stuff.
No.
You're not recording the game and watching it later.
See where you're going
bet
with
it.
this.
Yes.
So it's obviously a live game. So it could have been the Aloha Bowl, the Aloha Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a Christmas Day bowl, so it just threw me all off.
But there was also, I'd have to look, the Aloha Bowl. Then there was, that was a little bit later probably. They did the Hawaii Bowl.
Maybe that was Christmas
also.
Eve. Yeah. So anyway, it is possible to
the
have a
Huskies played in
day
the Aloha
game that is live that is being shown in Los Angeles at Nakatomi Tower.
Yes.
Nakatomi Tower. So there's a possible day game that's being shown live that would be played in Hawaii, but it wouldn't be USC Notre Dame. And it was just so funny.
If they had really bad seasons.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
right?
88 Notre Dame was Timmy Brown.
Was a really good team. Yeah.
And so they're not in the Aloha Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know why.
SC was horrible though.
So anyway, I do this all the time. Whenever I see anything sporting related in a movie, I go, is that accurate?
Because what's the other good Die Hard sporting reference? From the bad guys.
From the bad guys. Help me out. It's been a while since I watched the movie.
Showtime Lakers.
Oh.
When they come into the building.
Yeah.
And what I always remember that is because he always says, over to AC, because that's the local.
Yeah, AC Green.
At that time, AC Green was he was a new Laker, and he's from Portland. And
yep, that was cool. So, yeah. That's right. I do remember. I love anyway. But the other thing was they talk about Christmas movies. So you wanted to say, is it a Christmas movie, Cale?
It 100% is a Christmas movie.
All right. There's one vote, Tony.
Yes.
All right. I say it is too. But I also think these wacko parents, I mean, these are moms and dads, these are regular working folk. It's Christmas Eve, and that's when you're having your Christmas party.
Correct.
Yeah.
Do any of them have children?
It's LA, it's LA, baby.
Because we know that the
Holly Gennaro has 2 kids
Holly
at home.
Gennaro has 2 kids being raised by an illegal. Remember, she gets blackmailed by the journalists.
She does get
because all
blackmailed.
media are evil, and I include
true.
myself. The media people are just
Stereotypical. I
jerks.
got to get the story.
Yeah, I got to get the story. So the media guy blackmails her, the nanny, and says,
Yes.
we're going to call INS on you or something like that.
What about Hans? I mean, Hans had to have some kids. I mean, out there, right?
Yeah. So what company is having their Christmas party on Christmas Eve so that you make your employees, force your employees not to be at home? So this whole thing, I'm telling you,
you've really crawled down that wormhole, haven't you?
I actually thought about that years ago too, but I'm mad at myself for not realizing it was Notre Dame and USC in that football game.
I've never even really. I mean, I knew there was a football game, but that makes sense. I don't know if I knew or if it was Notre Dame SC or not.
No,
but that's why people are.
What's the giveaway
to our
that it's Notre
podcasts.
Dame SC?
I think you can see that it's Notre Dame USC. I think that now again I just saw
Or
it
did they list a player? Did they? Because you can hear the announcers.
You know what? I guess I could be wrong on that. I just saw it on the Twitter account, and I went, "Oh, someone else noticed it was USC Notre Dame," and so now we're going to have to. What is the game being played during Die Hard? Yeah, you can probably do that. Somebody will have that.
The internet machine will have that.
It's kind of like when someone tried to figure out what game Ice Cube was talking about when the Lakers beat the Supersonics.
Oh yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
and there's. They think they figured it out. I mean, there's no one night that everything is perfect, but they got real close to whatever it was.
Didn't that have more to do with it rhyming
I think
than an actual game?
Yes, but they're trying to figure out what day when there wasn't much smog, what day when the Lakers beat the Supersonics and all this stuff. And so it was just
when
they're trying to figure out what day
when
it
did the
was.
Goodyear blimp say Ice Cube's a pimp? Yeah, right.
So I've now seen Ice Cube twice, by the way, at halftime shows in Vegas. And my wife and I, we make fun of other places like Seattle, where we went to the Raiders Seattle game last year, and I think there was people on a trampoline at halftime as the halftime show.
Good.
We get Ice Cube. We get Ice Cube and we get Santana, at the halftime show, and the Eagles. You guys get kids on a trampoline. Congratulations on your halftime show.
I will say I went to a Blazer game over the break, and the halftime entertainment was a contortionist. Oh my goodness, it was incredible.
Oh, I saw some of that.
It was amazing. And then at one point she had like one hand on the stand, and she was shooting a bow and arrow with her feet.
I've seen her. She's amazing.
It was, but kind of disturbing at the same time.
Exactly. I like the lady who gets dishes on her head.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Like 25, plates.
Yeah, but it definitely wasn't Ice Cube at halftime.
No, So anyway, but
it is Notre Dame SC.
It is Notre Dame SC. Dun, dun, dun. Tony's looked it up.
There are 3 sites that are asking that question. Yeah. Why are they playing
on Christmas Eve?
And what bowl game would it be? And then they're saying in '88 there was none.
There was no. Yeah, it would be the Aloha Bowl the next day. So they messed that up.
Yeah.
So anyway, I do that. I'm one of those nerds that, I don't like most sports movies because it's just over the top, and like a football movie where a guy's helmet comes off after almost every tackle, somebody's helmet flies off in dramatic fashion, and we see that a couple of times, in a season where it's just this massive hit. But in every play on a football, it drives me insane that they over exaggerate everything in sports. But it's funny, even in a non-sports movie like Die Hard, and when I see the sports thing, I'm always looking, hey, what is that? And I'll go, I tried to look it up even as a child or a teen. I always had those questions, and so it's good to know that. All these years later, we're still asking the tough questions, Cale, Tony. Thank you.
That is a tough question.
So, hey, anything else? I mean, there's not coming off the break. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yes. No, it's kind of the calm before the storm here as we get into the second round of league basketball and that kind of stuff. It'll pick up here going towards in February and getting the playoffs and
some seeding going on and all that.
And seeding for all sports, of course, and then we'll even have a bowling state is first, right? State bowling is first.
Yep.
They always end their season first, and we always have a great teams in Southwest Washington.
yeah.
So
We'll run the table again.
We'll start with bowling, everyone, and then we'll get and then basketball ends at the first week of March.
We are as bowling dominant as the East Side is slow pitch dominant.
Oh yeah,
right?
That's a good
Easy.
point. That's a good point. We are.
Yeah, we own bowling.
We own bowling, baby. Hey, thanks a lot for listening, and we'll catch you on the next time.